Thanks to the support as a channel member, John Howell. So without question, biggest transfer window in the history of the football club. Presume I'm getting lots of financial backing. Yeah, I realise going professional cost you a lot of money. New ground regulations. They do sound expensive. Yeah, you're not giving me anything to spend at all, are you? Okay. Hello and welcome to part 29 of Holiday Home. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have our season review and transfer special off the back of, as you can see, our glorious title-winning promotion season. 2 down, 2 to go as far as promotions go. We are moving into the 3rd tier, and as you will have seen in yesterday's episode, we have gone professional, which is incredibly important for sorting out the fitness and general development of our young players. We've tried out a bunch of youngsters, and we've been given our budgets already. Mrs. Wearmouth has already given us budgets, which, although they look generous for home, they are much lower than every other budget for every other team in the league we're going into. So that's a challenge for future Kev. And by future Kev, I mean like 10 minutes from now, Kev. For now, let's just bask in the glory of last season for a little bit longer. We'll review the signings first. And signing of the season, interestingly, goes to Adrian Romero, which I guess in terms of who was the most important signing, what was the most significant upgrade that we had last season, it was definitely Romero upgrading from Fajardo. Luis and Carrington both ended up with better average ratings. Carrington is on a lot of money. I'm a little bit alarmed at how much money we're paying him. And Luis managing to get 16 goal contributions without ever being a regular starter is pretty impressive. And also Sai Maggio's goal return, pretty good as well. But I don't think you can argue with Romero being signing of the season because of the impact he made as the new goalkeeper for us. Mrs. Wearmouth was expecting us to, what was she expecting? Reach the playoffs. I don't think she was expecting the playoffs. I think she was expecting top half. Maybe she was expecting the playoffs. Either way, we won the league easily, peasily, and without getting close to maxing out our attendance either. So we've got lots of room to grub into in Estadio Municipal. Mick Powell, Kevin Carlos, top goal scorer, and that was without playing anywhere near the maximum number of games either. So that's an incredibly impressive goal return. It's going to be really interesting to see if he can make the step up to the next league up. I mean, that was a day, wasn't it? That was the first game of the season, wasn't it? Was that the very first game of the season when we won 8-0 and Carlos got 5 goals? That kind of set the tone for the whole season, didn't it? We never really let up from there. I would say the best result of the season was probably the draw with Barcelona, but maybe friendlies don't count. Crucially, we have had our reputation upgraded. We are still just local reputation, but we've gone from half a star to 1 star, which will, fingers crossed, have a little bit of an impact on the calibre of players we're able to bring in. And we have started to get a little bit more money coming through the coffers as well. Sponsorships have doubled. Broadcast revenue has dropped a little bit, which is interesting, because I don't think we've ever had broadcast revenue previously. Corporate and hospitality also there is slightly down. Still no competition prize money. But what it doesn't show on here, which is significant, is match day, like ticket income. I don't think match day commercial and I'm surprised it doesn't have ticket income on here. But obviously the Barcelona friendly had a big impact on ticket income as well, and is probably responsible for the match day commercial and retail increase that we had. Kevin Carlos selling more shirts than anybody else is no surprise. In fact, there's not really any surprises in that top 5. That probably is a top 5 of our most important players. The fact that Luis is second highest shirt seller, despite effectively being a reserve, shows just how good he is. We've got 2 very good strikers. And this was our team of the year. Romero in goal, a back 4 of Gonzalez, who will be moving on this summer. Such, Joffrey and Carrington. Boxall at the base of the midfield. Rabiu and Cucurella ahead of him. I don't know that they ever played together that way round all season long, but they were both good apparently. Martinez Perez on the left, Fakal on the right, Kevin Carlos up front. I would still give player of the season to Rabiu. I suspect it's going to Carlos. He's actually on a higher average rating as well. And 36 goals from 26 starts is not to be sniffed at. But Rabiu, with 26 goal contributions from 35 starts and his first season playing in central midfield at a 7.45, I'm giving it to Rabiu all day long. Let's see who actually won the award, if it ever ticks over. Did I click that? Maybe I didn't click it. There we go. So player of the year is Kevin Carlos. It was always going to be with that kind of goal return. Rabiot picking up young player of the year. Probably the most exciting thing about him. Okay, most exciting thing is he's 6'4". Second most exciting thing, still only 21 years old. Signing of the season, we know, is Romero. Cucurella got goal of the season. Top scorer, Carlos. Most assists. The rejuvenation of Ivan Falcao. Can he make the step up again? Now he's 30 years old. Carlos got most man of the matches and top average rating. And then there was a number of club records broken by Kevin Carlos, including most goals in a season, most league goals in a season, most goals in a match, most goals in a league match. Falcao breaking his own assists in a season record. Romero breaking the clean sheets record. Falcao is now the all-time record appearance holder as well for the club at 140 appearances. Joel Bradley became our youngest ever player at 15 years old, and Fred Stiebling became our youngest ever goal scorer at 16 years old. The future is very bright, and there is the trophy to signify the wonderful, wonderful season that we've just had. We've had some players added to the all-time best 11 as well. Florek, inexplicably still in there, still playing in Poland fairly regularly. I think we've established that is the top division in Poland now. I mean, he's not played very well. 54 goals conceded, much worse than his performance the season before, only averaging a 6.05. I half expected him to have caps for Poland, but no, and he still has a very smackable face. Vega in the best 11 at left back, but I can't click on his name properly apparently. He is still a free agent, having been released by us last summer, so I imagine he's going to be retiring fairly soon. Unless he picks up a club before the season ticks over, he's probably going to retire. Iago Lopez, likewise, still available on a free transfer. I think that probably vindicates the decision, that and the league position we finished in, but the fact that neither of them were able to find new clubs shows they were probably never good enough for us. Joffrey and Ivan Such at centre-back is our current centre-back partnership. Alex Boxall, Isra and Rabiot. Isra, I'm still sad that we're letting Isra go. Part of me thinks if we could keep him around as a backup on a little salary, then he's a lovely backup to have. But I think we've probably just gone, why am I clicking the wrong button constantly? Where has he gone? I think it's maybe one promotion too far for Isra, who, remember, signed for us when we were down in the 5th tier, was an important part of both promotion teams, but he's never really excelled. Never got more than a 6.99 average rating, never scored more than 3 goals in a season. He's just a tidy little efficient player, and I think we can probably do better, so we are letting him go, which is sad. Rabiot in the all-time best 11 in midfield, with Martinez Perez on there, Falcao on the right, and Kevin Carlos up front. I mean, you can't argue with very much of that at all, can you? Supporters wise, we've picked up loads of new social media followers, which is the way to measure how good a club is. 279 season ticket holders seems high as well, which is nice. And this is Wearmouth. I mean, she's not asking for much, is she? She's giving me the smallest wage budget the 3rd tier has ever seen, and expecting me to finish in the top half whilst playing attacking football. She does not want much. So of course we'll accept it. Mrs. Wearmouth is always right. If she thinks that's what we're capable of doing, that's what we're capable of doing. And it is good to see that Rabiot has now joined Falcao as one of our team leaders. This might be the summer where we have the passing of the armband. We will see. We might wait one more year. Falcao having such a good season last year, unless we sign a replacement for him on the right-hand side, I imagine we keep the armband on Falcao for one more year. But Rabiot very much captain-elect, and it's good to see the next vice-captain, Alex Boxall, moving up to being an influential player. He needs to continue to step up towards becoming highly influential as well. And we want leaders. We want leaders throughout the team. So this is supposedly our best 11 and their star ratings. The fact that Sai Maggio in it means take it with a big pinch of salt. Maggio, Gonzalez, David will all be leaving this summer. So that suggests the focus of our summer needs to be on defenders and defensive midfielders. The attack and the attacking midfielders probably taking care of themselves like they usually do, although we're going to need backups. But we have got some good young talent coming through as well, so we don't need to really overload ourselves with backups. And there is an offer for Gonzalez straight off the bat. So money-wise, we're currently spending or committed to spend £9,000 a week. So we've got £5,500, £6,000 a week sparesies on wage budget. once we get the scouting budget in as well, we'll be able to tip a little bit more into that kitty. I'm not expecting to sell anybody. The few players who've been given new contracts with release clauses, because we have to do release clauses now, the release clauses are so low that any player sales won't make a difference anyway. So not interested in selling. They're the 4 players who I'm expecting to leave. There's always the possibility that Isra or Christian David get a new contract. Especially the more I look at Christian David and remind myself that he is still only 21. He's now competent as a defensive midfielder, and we need a defensive midfielder, and he still has 5 stars of potential as well. The more I'm thinking maybe Christian David is going to get a new contract. He's probably the most likely of the lot of them. The rest of them all a little bit older, starting to drop off on some of the potential. But Christian David, I think if we can get him for the right kind of price, we're unlikely to find a player that good for that position on that kind of money. Not that he's likely to accept that kind of money, but we shall see. The rest of the squad, though, is pretty much already in place, and we just need to full-time them all up. And there's going to be a lot of young players moving into the first team squad on a permanent basis over the course of this summer. The likes of Rob Harley, Fred Stiebling, Joel Bradley. These are the players who we were starting to see a little bit of towards the end of last season. They're all very high potential. So expect them to be in the mix. And maybe we'll sign a defender or 2. We'll see. We're probably just going to jump forward to the 1st of July now. And unless anything major happens, let's time travel to the 1st of July and really work out what we need then. And probably more importantly, because we'll have done contract renewals by then, let's work out what we can actually afford to do. And it might not be very much at all. Stop at the presses, boys and girls. I pressed continue twice and this appeared. So the board, i.e. Mrs. Wearmouth, has announced plans to modify the stadium capacity with the addition of 2,050 seats, including some installed in parts of the standing areas. As a consequence of this conversion, the overall capacity of the stadium will be reduced. So it looks like we have to go all-seater as part of the new league. The planned work costs an estimated £250,000. No wonder the wage budget is so low. Has to be carried out in order to comply with league requirements. It will take 3 months to complete. Our stadium capacity... That can't be right. That's the new seats. There's no way our new capacity is that. Surely. No. So yeah, right. We're gonna look at the league rules. I don't understand. So we don't have to be all-seater, it seems, but I guess you need a certain amount of seats. So if we go into the rules, stadiums. Where does it say about stadiums? Oh, here we go. Minimum stadium seating capacity, 4,000. Terracing is permitted. Grass pitches only. Clubs that don't meet the requirements. So we had 2 years to meet the requirements, but we need to get to 4,000 seats, which we didn't have before. And I'm guessing with this change, that gets us to exactly 4,000 seats and not a seat more. Although, I mean, I'm not the best mathematician in the world, but I make that 1814 plus 2050. I feel like we're going to be about 100 seats short still. Unless we're counting the seats on the bench and in the dugout and everything. The seat that the turnstile guy sits on, maybe. I'm sure Mrs. Wearmouth has a plan. It'll be fine. But that's cost us a lot. I mean, hang on. It hasn't... How has she paid for that? Has she taken out a loan? Oh, Mrs. Wearmouth, not a loan! Oh, dear. Well... We've taken out a loan, and so it begins. Spending to compete. The beginning of the end for Holme FC. Well, we have made it through to the 1st of July. I suspect there's not going to be much in the way of new signings this summer. They're certainly not permanent signings. We're going to have a look at some loans in a second, but it's the 1st of July, and we are already over our committed spending on our wage budget. We're negative on our transfer budget, and because of that, we can't adjust scouting budget. It's the same problem we had back in the second season. So we are kind of stuck because of the contract renewals that we've done. I've basically gone through the squad trying to get as many of the key players as possible on full-time contracts so that they're training with us full-time, because then it will help with their development. We've also offered contracts to some of the young players because there is a rule at this level. If we go into the rules at this level, where we must spend £250 per week minimum wage for full-time players aged 17 or over. So that affected the likes of Patrice Boyer, the two Ivans, several other players, Alstar, Alex. I think Alex Boxall might have been already above it. Zafra was just below it as well. So quite a few players needed new contracts. You can see not everybody has gone full-time because some of them we just couldn't afford. We couldn't agree sensible salaries with. So Adrian Romero wanted over £1,000 a week. So he's going to stay part-time. Ezra Carrington is already earning more than most of the full-time players part-time. So, yeah, he's not going to be getting a full-time contract anytime soon. Gustavo Munoz, we've just offered because we've just moved this guy up from the youth team. So he's in the process of getting his new contract now, but he's one of a couple of players who's had his couple of years of development loans and is now going to have to be part of the first team squad because we don't have alternatives really. Ivan Fakal is another one who wanted well over £1,000 a week. We just can't justify it. He's got 1 year left on the contract. The long-term contract he signed years ago, we'll let him run that contract down and then leave. But we did pay big money where big money was deserved. So our new highest paid player is Joseph Rabiou on £1,500 a week on a 3-year contract. Absolutely crucial. He's our best player. He'll probably become our captain this summer. We're kind of building the team around him. And then we had a decision to make at centre forward. Kevin Carlos is injured and there are injury concerns around him. So at the moment, he's still on his part-time contract with a year to go. We can't actually offer him a new contract currently because we've gone over budgets. But Ivan Luis, who was the backup striker last year, we've kind of committed to him being the main man for the next couple of years. Now he's 4 years younger than Carlos. And we've given him 1.3k a week for the next 2 years. And we kind of have to hope that works out because he is earning a lot of money. So it does mean, like I say, 3 or 4 players still going to be training part-time and working part-time in Mrs. Wearmouth's hotel. And it leaves us with a squad of 20 players. We're allowed a squad of 24 at this level, including 3 goalkeepers. Finally, there are still some young players that we can bring up. We've got Dan Grocott, for example, who's 6'4", and you can't teach that. So we could potentially bring a couple more players up from the youth team if needed. But I think first port of call needs to be trying to bring in some free loans, because obviously we can't afford to bring anyone in on actual contracts. If we look at the squad planner, it's so weird it being the 1st of July and us not bringing anyone in on trial. We just can't sign anybody permanently. But there are positions we need to strengthen. Ideally, we'd get another goalkeeper, and we're allowed 3 in the squad. Adrian Romero is likely in his final year at the club if he doesn't lower his wage demands, and he's only 2.5 stars of current ability anyway, so it wouldn't hurt to bring someone in over the top of him if we can find the right man. At left back, we're probably okay. Zafra as starter, who was our backup last year but is a youngster who's getting better and better. So he can be our starter. Joffrey can play there if need be, but he's going to be needed at centre-back. And Russ Eddy is now back in the first team squad after a couple of years away. He was, of course, a key man in the early years of the Save when he was very, very young, breaking into the team at the same time as Alex Boxall. We kind of then moved on beyond him for a little while. And he's had a couple of years out on loan. But he is now back, and his versatility is going to be very important for us this year. Can play left back, central midfield, left wing, and he'll be our backup left back, at least initially. If we can find a better guy, we'll find a better guy. But Russ Eddy, this is his big chance when because he's cheap and we kind of need him. At right back, we've got Ezra Carrington, Markel Jimenez. I'm happy with both of those two. Don't think we need to add anything there. But at centre back, we've only got 3 options, and one of them is Jimenez, our backup right back. So we need a couple of centre backs. Christian David has gone back to Colombia, where he's earning over £2,000 a week. It seems it's becoming a thing. Players we decide aren't good enough and let go end up going and earning lots more money everywhere else. So it shows just how little we're paying. But we need at least 2 centre backs. which is going to be tough when we're having to rely on loans. Defensive midfield, of course, Alex Boxall is probably going to have to move back there this year. Sai Maggio has moved on. We do have the 2 youngsters, Gustavo Munoz, who, as we mentioned before, has had his couple of years of development loans. And Al Star, who came through the youth team a couple of years ago, and again, has spent the last couple of years out on loan. He now moves back into the first team squad. So we've got a couple of youngsters as backups for Boxall. So I don't think we necessarily need to go out and get a DM this year. But centre mid, we are a little light. We've got Rabiot, Cucurella probably as our starters. Isra's moved on. As mentioned, Maggio's moved on. We have got one of our youngsters, again, another one who's come back from his loans, Haguibo Koulibaly, who's now 20 years old, has had 3 years out on loan, never played a game for us, but we've just given him a £500 a month contract. He can also play on the left-hand side, can play as an attacking midfielder. He's basically taking Isra's squad spot and needs to be any good, because if he's not, we've got a problem because we're giving him a lot of money. But we probably need one more midfielder. We've only got Rabiot, Cucurella, Koulibaly, and then players who are already kind of allocated elsewhere. Boxall at the base of the midfield with Star and Munoz, Eddie at left back. So we need at least one more player to cover those kind of positions. And then I think in the attack, we're kind of okay. Martinez Perez is our starting left winger. Rob Harley can be back up to him. Rabiot can play out there if need be, but he's going to be more needed in central midfield, especially if he gets moved up to being captain, which is likely to happen. On the right-hand side, Fakal is doing his retirement tour. I think this is the final year of Ivan Fakal. Ivan Mutt had kind of pushed him out of the team towards the end of last season anyway, and I expect to start the season with Ivan Mutt as the starter on the right-hand side. My long-term plan is potentially Ivan Mutt on the left cutting in and Martinez Perez on the right cutting in. They're both accomplished or natural on their opposite wings now. We've been training them both. This has been a long-term development plan. Ivan Mutt is now natural on both sides. Martinez Perez is now accomplished on the right. So we've got the option of playing them on opposite flanks. We've also got the option of Rabiot on the left, Martinez Perez on the right, if we decide to go down that route. So I think in the wings, we are covered nicely. And then up front, we've got Ivan Luis, who we've obviously given a lot of money to. Kevin Carlos, who, if he recovers from his injury, is still an excellent asset for the club. His more than a goal a game goal return in the last 18 months should translate to decent return at the higher level. And Ivan Mutt can also play up front as well. We do have a couple of young strikers down in the under-19s that we can bring up if need be. But we're not desperate to do that. I'm more inclined to send these guys out on loan. Fred Stiebling was in and around the first team squad at the end of last season, even scored a goal. But I think at 16 years old, he needs to go out and do his year or two excursion like the likes of Star, Koulibaly, Munoz. These guys have gone out and done and then come back first team ready. So that's the plan, which means I think we're all set for the front three. But we need at least one more midfielder and then a bunch of defenders. I don't know how many loans were allowed. The season hasn't actually ticked over into the new league yet. So if we go and find the new league, I think they're going to be in First Division B. Not that it makes a difference when it comes to the rules for this kind of thing. But does it mention anything about loans in here? Maximum of 3 goalkeepers, maximum of 21 outfield players. Maximum of 18 over 23s. Free transfers can be registered at any time. Here we go. Loan rules. Maximum of 6 foreign-based players over the age of 22 allowed on loan at any one time. Maximum of 6 players over the age of 22 allowed out on loan to a foreign club at a time. So it looks like there's no restriction on domestic loans, and we're allowed 6 foreign loans. So if we can find the right loans for the right price, i.e. no price, we should, being the operative word, should be able to fill the squad gaps with loan players. Something else worth bearing in mind is just how young this squad is getting. Obviously, we've got Fakal, who's the only 30-something. Kevin Carlos on his last legs, body breaking down at 26. I mean, all the guys who are the ones that we're not offering contracts to because we're not sure on are the older guys. We've very much got a team of 21 and under youngsters, a lot of which came through our youth academy in this first team squad, which hopefully is a good thing. I mean, Mrs. Wearmouth has got to be happy that we're bringing players through the youth team. There you go. Develop players using the club's youth system. She is very pleased. Lovely stuff. Let's go find some loans, shall we? Well, we have just gone through and randomly signed all of the free loans we were able to bring in. And somehow my director of football snuck a Sai Maggio replacement in for us as well. So we'll start with him. I did not realise we were paying this guy as much as we're paying him. It absolutely ruins any hope we had of giving little Kev a new contract. We are now so far over our wage budget. But at least we now have someone who can provide some cover for us at centre-back, defensive midfield and central midfield. So he is a decent option. I imagine he's going to get game time because of his versatility. I'm not that upset. It's just it is a lot of money for a 19-year-old fringe player. And then, like I say, we did the loans. We did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 loans. None of them are costing us anything. We didn't scout any of them first. We literally just signed all of the ones that weren't going to cost us anything. And then we'll decide later which ones we're going to use and which we'll just sling down into the B team. You might be able to decide for yourself as we go through. So this is Ivan Ibanez, who is a central midfielder who can also play centre forward. He's got 2 stars of current ability. We've got Nick Evans, who's a centre back with 7 international caps for Bermuda. Can also play right back. He's got 2 stars of current ability. We've got Ivan Moreno, who's defensive midfielder, who can also play on the left wing and in central midfield. He's actually got 2.5 stars of current ability and might be a player that allows us to continue playing Alex Boxall in central midfield. So that's actually quite a good one. We've got Akoran Bauti, who balances that out beautifully. He's a central midfielder with 1.5 stars of current ability. We're moving him down to the B team in a moment, as soon as I stop recording. We've got Ivan Blazquez, who is a 3rd choice goalkeeper, 20 years old, 1.5 stars of current ability. We can have 3 goalkeepers now. We might as well. We've then got Ivan Donat, who's a defensive midfielder who can also play right back, right wing, central midfield. Another one who's actually pretty good. 2.5 stars of current ability, 5 stars of potential. Another option to sit at the base of the midfield and release Alex Boxall. I think with those 2 players coming in, the 2 newest Ivans, I actually think I'm probably considering Alex Boxall as a central midfielder from now on. Ivan Nicolau, that's the guy we just looked at, the guy who signed permanently. And then lastly, Andrew is a striker who can also play on either wing, but don't worry, he plays on either of them really badly. 1.5 stars of current ability. If we go and look in our squad planner now and see what that's done to our squad depth, we kind of have solved every problem that we had, sort of. We've got 3 goalkeepers, which is nice to have. We've still got Zafra and Eddie as our left back options. We've still got Carrington and Jimenez as right backs, but Donat can play there as well, as can Nick Evans. So Jimenez potentially freed up to play at centre back, where we've now got 4 options plus Jimenez, with Nicolau coming in, Nick Evans coming in, and of course Jimenez being freed up to play in that role as well. Defensive midfield, we've got quite a lot. Again, if we're considering Boxall as a centre mid, we've got the 3 Ivans, Donat, Nicolau, Moreno as options to start there, plus still got the youngsters Munoz and Starr, who can get some game time as well. Central midfield, we've got lots of options, most of them not very good though, but if we look at the players we're actually likely to use playing as central midfield, it's Rabiu, Boxall, Kukurea and Koulibaly. Everyone else very much there to make up the numbers, and some of them will move down to the B team, the under-19s, wherever they end up. On the right-hand side, it's Fakal and Ivan. Left-hand side, it's Martinez, Perez and Harley, as it was before. And then up front, Ivan Luis, Kevin Carlos, and we've got a couple of youngsters who can kind of fill in there if need be, but realistically, it's Ivan Mutt will be the 3rd option as striker. We've also sent lots of the youngsters out on loan. The one I'm keeping the closest eye on, talking of strikers, is Fred Stiebling, who has gone out on loan down in the 5th tier. We need him to go and score goals for us. He's only 16, but at 5 stars of a potential, he is our great attacking hope, especially if we have to resign ourselves to losing little Kev next summer if we can't agree a new contract with him, or if his hamstrings are just done. So we're allowed a 24-man squad in this league. We've got 28, so 4 of these need to do one. Some of them are very easy. I mean, we'll keep that goalkeeper around, but Andrew, we're sending him down into the B team so he can go and play for the B team. Off your pop, young man. Bouty, he's another one. We might send him to the under-19s, actually, because he's only 17 years old. Boyer, we keep around. Russ Eddy is going to be used. And then I guess it's probably Munoz and Starr, the other two, who might be best off going out on loan. We've obviously got those Ivans who can both play at DM, who are kind of blocking their path to the first team. So rather than them being third and fourth reserve, it probably makes the most sense to get them out playing another season of loans each, hopefully get them coming back as 2.5, 3-star players. And if we can find someone to pay their salaries, that gets £500 back into the wage budget as well. So I think we'll offer both of those two out for loans, see if anyone is willing to pay their full salaries. And if not, we'll come up with a new plan. But at the moment, we've still got to trim 2 more players out of this squad. I mean, Ibanez would be another obvious one to just bin off. And then we just got to get rid of one more. But the squad it's probably done. I mean, money-wise, unless something happens, it's only the 9th of July and we're probably done. The league hasn't even ticked over yet. It's going to be very interesting having got our transfers done. Having got our transfers done early, it is going to be interesting to see what the media think of us as far as media prediction go for next season. Mrs. Wearmouth's looking for a top half finish. Let's see what the media think, shall we? Oh, boys and girls, try and keep yourself calm, but in the circumstances, it's going to be pretty difficult. We get TV money now, £43,000. Mrs. Wearmouth actually threw some money in as well. After taking out a massive loan to pay for the stadium improvements, she then invested roughly the amount that she took out as the loan into the club. Why she didn't just pay for the improvements with cash, I don't know. Ignore this. This is, frankly, none of your business. But what I am interested in is what the media think of our squad. The league has now ticked over, so we are in Spanish Federation First Division B, which has some big names in it. Some big B teams, some of our big local rivals. Valencia and Villarreal, I think, are our two. They're our two big local rivals, so we've now got their B teams to contend with. It should hopefully mean that some of these B teams can't get promoted as well, but let's see what the media thinks. Remember, Mrs. Wearmouth wants a top half finish. The media think 8th place, so okay. I can work with that, I think. Looks like Espanyol B can't get promoted because Espanyol must be in the league above. So that's, I mean, we're not really looking upwards in this league this year. We're very much trying to avoid relegation. Our best player, how far do we have to scroll for our best player to be on this list? There you go. Rabiu is about halfway down, and then Ivan Luis, considered our second best player, also about halfway down. So our very best players, our 2 highest paid players at least, very much in the mix as middle of the division players in this league, which is quite the positive. Let's just hope we can live up to it. Now we continue. Oh, it's my 45th birthday. Happy birthday to me. And 45th birthday, and my present is I get like 6 weeks off now to hang out in Mrs. Wearmouth's hotel because the season doesn't start until the end of August. I have nothing to do. I'm going to go and hang out by the pool. I'm probably not even going to bother arranging any friendlies because it seems like no one else has bothered. I'm sure somebody's supposed to arrange friendlies. Can we arrange some friendlies, please, lads? I'll be by the pool if you need me. Well, we have made it through to just before the first match of the season, and nothing else has really happened. I mean, transfer-wise, we've just continued to send a few boys out on loan. Al Star, Gustavo Munoz both went out on their loans, so they reduced their salary spend. As you can see, it's gone back up, though, and the reason it's gone back up is because we offered the new contract to Kevin Carlos, 1.1k a week on a full-time contract for 2 years. So that's him tied down for a full-time, long-term deal as well. We have had a little bit of problem with Ivan Fakal because we stripped him of the captaincy. Joseph Rabiu, as you can see, he's a happy boy because he is the new club captain. Fakal has dropped down to vice captain. And the social groups have very much had a little bit of a split. They were previously in the same social group, but we've now got Fakal's group that's got Alex Boxall, Ivan Such, Romero in it, and then we've got Rabiu's group, which contains Carlos, Joffrey, Russ Eddy. Russ Eddy's back, everybody. Russ Eddy is back in the squad. So there might be turf wars as part of backroom club atmosphere. But to be honest, we're starting the season with very good team cohesion, very good club atmosphere, and very good managerial support. I don't know if that's ever happened before for me. So that's a very positive thing. The one other change we've made is we brought Zander Suster up to the first team squad, mainly because no one wanted to take him on loan and we're paying him £350 a week. So I figured if we're paying him £350 a week, we may as well have him in the first team squad. Because he's over 17, he had to register. So we've just got the one squad spot. The transfer deadline hasn't actually happened yet, but it's looking unlikely we're going to do any more business. I would love to be able to bring this guy in and let Fakal leave, but this guy wants £2,500 a week and Fakal is only on £300 a week. And there's just no way the maths works on that kind of deal. So we are keeping Fakal to see out his contract. He's still on that part-time deal. We're not going to give him a new deal unless he has an absolutely incredible season and then tells me he only wants £500 a week. But there's no way we're going to give him the £1,500 a week that he was asking for at 30 years old, when he's largely been in the decline for several years. Obviously, he had a good year last year, but now it's a step up to a league he's never played in. He turns 31 this year. He's done. He is finished. So this is what our team is looking like. This is going to be the starting 11 for the first game of the new season. Alex Boxall suspended for the first day of the year for the second season in a row. We are allowed 12 substitutes now as well. So there's going to be pretty much everybody who's registered is going to be involved in every match day. So there's going to be plenty of opportunity for some of those younger players like Suster, like Eddie, like Harley to get game time. If we find ourselves like 3-0 up, probably doesn't happen very often, but it means we can use the likes of Rob Harley and get them some game time. So that's a good and positive thing. As far as media prediction go, we have already checked this, but we'll just check in once more. They still think we are favourites for an 8th place finish. Is that how you describe that? We're favourites to finish mid-table. In this league, it's 1 automatic promotion, 4 in the promotion playoff, and then 5 relegation spots. So my primary concern is making sure we're not down this end. If we finish top half, I think everybody is going to be jolly happy with that. And we're just going to pretend that that's not happening. I feel like that'll resolve itself as the season goes on somehow. The work has finished on the stadium as well. We've now got the 4,000 seats we need to be able to play in this league. It's cost us about 3,000 off of our capacity, but as we never come close to filling the stadium anyway, it's probably not a big deal. We did also ask for a senior affiliate like we do every summer. Mrs. Wearmouth couldn't find one after an extensive search. And Romeo still doesn't want to come back as director of football. Yes, we still ask every single summer. But that brings us to the end of quite a low-key transfer special, really. I mean, we've signed 0 permanent players this year. Obviously, we did bring 1 in. Have I ever just done 1 permanent signing in a summer before? There's lots of loans that have come in as well. So there are new faces. We're going to have Nicolau in the starting 11, Zafra as a youngster coming up into the first team squad as an established first choice player for the first time. Moreno, there are new faces, but it is largely a very familiar team. And there are certain spots like Cucurella playing there ahead of Isra, this new Nicolau guy, new Maggio, we describe him as, because he can play in the same positions as Sai Maggio last year. Is he really an upgrade on Sai Maggio or Christian David? So there are a couple of areas where I'm not sure we've necessarily even improved, but the best players are getting better. Rabiu, Carlos, Martinez, Perez, the Ivans. These guys are all improving. Alex Boxall, even though he's not in the team today. So fingers crossed, we are set up for another good season. That's what, just a lovely mid-table season will suit me just fine. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.